Last night I was watching Tucker Carlson show because right now I think he's got the best show on cable news. And I was watching it, and he had a guy on. He had two people on to sort of represent different perspectives. One's an expert; he's a doctor, and said the usual stuff. Flatten the curve, get the disease down. Okay, he just looks at the projections from a week or two ago and then goes online and says, okay, so the projections were wrong. Does anybody care? And people shouted at him, and you're a murderer, and why don't you care about old people, and all the crazy stuff that, some of them have been yelling at me too, just for saying, so we're just going to do this. Now we're just going to induce a depression. See what happens. They already have riots in Italy, folks. You don't see a lot of reporting on that, do you? They have riots in Italy. What does anyone think that if we got into riots here in a place like New York City, given the tension that we're already under, what is that going to look like? Yeah, there's a life protection issue that would come into play pretty quickly there, wouldn't it? And we got the NYPD right now out sick, too. So a huge percentage of the New York Police Department's out sick. So, but Tucker had on this doctor who, Tucker went through the whole, okay, what about if we did the following? And this would have been what I thought. I don't know. Not an expert, right? I got to keep repeating this because everyone yells at me and all the rest. I don't care. Whatever. People are nuts. But trying to do the best I can to be as honest and worthwhile in my analysis of this as I can. But there was a doctor on last night, and he was asked about what if we took the approach of protecting vulnerable populations, mask, gloves, work on all the serology tests, do all the things we're doing, but allow people to go to work. You're not going to be going to restaurants. You're not going to be going to bars, but the American people go back to work with precautions for themselves and with vulnerable populations still quarantined for, let's assume the next 60 to 90 days while we figure out more of what's going on here. But then there's more economic activity. There's a greater sense of normalcy. And the doctor gave, I'm just going to say, the doctor gave a zero answer. No, flatten the curve. Okay, maybe flatten the curve is right, but why? Why is that other thing not going to work? We really believe that the people who are in the less vulnerable end of the population going to work with precautions, still telecommuting if they can, but going to work, going to their place of business with precautions. Now, people might shoot this idea down just by saying with social distancing in place, without a relaxation of that, bars, restaurants, retail, none of that opens. Hotels, travel, none of that opens. Okay. I mean, maybe that's, but then what about everything that's not those things, right? What about people that need, and you might say that's such an insignificant part of the population, it's not worth the risk. That's an answer to the question. I'm just saying the doctor had no answer. And I think that was frustrating. And, the Swedes, who we often look to as a very socially cohesive, very together, pleasant country, right? I mean, the Swedes, everyone feels like they're healthy and happy, and a lot of good stuff going on there. They have decided not to do what all these other countries are doing. Here's a piece from the Telegraph. Faced with what many there believe will be a manageable illness, Sweden has decided, for now at least, that lockdown presents a greater risk. Lockdown presents a greater... How could that be possible? Are the Swedes monsters who don't care about lives? Do the Swedes not care about old people and people with health conditions dying from this? Is the Swedish government full of truly evil people? Why would a country of 20 million people... that does have cases, and they know that it's there, and they're seeing all the... What do? They're doing what I just said. People are asking, why don't we try that? Sensible precaution, protect vulnerable populations, and evaluate as you go along. Nope, we've taken the just shut it all down, just shut it down approach. For how long? We don't know. We'll figure that out. We'll let you know. Depression? Who cares? Not important right now. We'll see. Maybe I come back in 2 weeks and I go, okay, Sweden has gotten absolutely hammered by this virus, and they've changed course, and they know they were wrong, and this was a disaster, and they ran the experiment that some of us... I'm not even saying we should have run it here. I'm just saying I want an explanation as to why that wouldn't work. Or why wouldn't the Sweden model work in Utah while we keep New York on lockdown and let the virus get more under control here? Well, why not? That was what was being talked about 2 weeks ago. No, we went from looking at this, it seemed to me, in a fashion that was based on, balancing out risk and reward to the overall American population. We went from, what do? We got to protect people, but what are we willing to sacrifice as an entire society here for these? This is what goes on. And over the course of the last 2 weeks, it just turned into like, shut it down, shut it all down. As long as it has to go, doesn't matter. Just the government will send out checks. Close your mouth. Stay home. That's it. How long? Don't ask. Oh, and there might be a national shutdown order coming. Don't worry about the Constitution. Okay. All right. This is what we're being told. This is what has been said. The same folks that are in a lot of cases telling you that this is the only way forward are also saying, wow, there's so much less CO2 in the air because of this shutdown. Isn't that a great thing for the planet? You don't think that some of the new powers, I mean, this is a stress test on society of government just being able to say, there's a really important thing. You no longer have any real rights to question anything. You do what we say. Now, for some of us, I understand it's just an extreme circumstance, and we're just going to say, okay, I guess for now we got no choice. Some of you are probably saying, Buck, I'm not willing to make that trade-off. But for other people, they'll see it as an opportunity. For progressives and the left, they will see this ability to get the government, to get the American people to do as they say or else, as something to be reused in the future. Mark my words.
Hey, Team Buck, thank you so much for watching The First on YouTube. If you like this video, please click that little thumbs up button so then it will log as liked. And also, if you want to see more great content from The First, please click subscribe.